in this lesson, we'll create a few more little invader characters using our spline techniques. So let's go in and now spend a little bit more time just building some cool little characters. So we can start with different things. Let's start with, I'm going to start with just like a cogwheel. I can change the inner radius, can change the middle radius, make those kind of a little bit more squared off. I can change the number of teeth. So we take that down to 9. I'm going to bring in just a rectangle. And again, just reiterate that you don't have to do exactly the same thing that I'm doing. You can do something a little bit different. Bring in your own, the splines that you want to sort of bring in here. We kind of bring in a kind of a squared off shape. Let me reduce that rectangle's height. So maybe something like that. And we can start to do these in different layers. So we can start to, let's say, build this out. So we use a spline mask with the rectangle and the cogwheel. That spline mask is going along the Z in this case because we've now drawn it out in the front view. So keep in mind what axis it is that you need. So we can say, okay, that's good for part of it. So then we'll take this, make it editable, and now we can use this with another spline. So let's take another rectangle here and we'll move this one down a little bit, size it kind of appropriately. And this time we'll create now another spline mask and we'll dump our result into our spline mask along with this new rectangle. Now let's change the mode. So instead of A union B, let's do A subtract B. And then we can cut part of it out. Okay, we can take our rectangle and maybe move it down a little bit if we want to. And then we can take the result of that, make that editable. So it's just a kind of a process of going through and adding different things. We can create now, let's create an inside here. So we can kind of bring this in. You can see, can start to change the number of sides that we have here, change our radius a little bit. Let's make it a little bit smaller. And sort of move it in like that. And again, get another spline mask. Bring these two guys together. And then make the result editable. Let's do one more on this. Let's grab this four-sided, bring it up. Let's kind of increase the width, decrease the height. And this time, we'll just make that spline editable and we'll take both of these, connect and delete. We're not actually subtracting or adding to anything. So, there's another one. Let's turn the visibility off on that one. Let's do maybe a couple more quick ones here. Let's start with this four-sided diamond shape. And we'll kind of make it a bit wider. We can now add a rectangle. Let's make the rectangle a bit narrower. So something like that. And let's kind of move this down a little bit. We'll make it a bit higher. Okay, and holding down Control and moving it will create a copy. So we'll create a copy all the way over here. Okay, and then we can take both of these, make those editable, connect and delete, and now we'll use our spline mask with these rectangles and this four-sided piece, and then we'll make the result editable. And then we can continue on by sort of cutting part of this out. So grab another rectangle. And you're starting to see how quickly you can get some really kind of cool results just with some very simple shapes that you can make in Cinema 4D. Let's make this width a bit more and we'll use both sides at the same time. So now again, spline mask. And you just have to know what sort of operation you're doing. So now you want to go into your spline mask and you want to subtract to cut out those edges. Make editable. And so you can start to get something like that. Now let's make the little feet coming across here real quickly. So I'll just make a little square shape. Kind of something like that. And then I'll do the same thing over here. Now we could do these separately. Okay, or we could, again, take both of those and then just connect them before. So all we're really doing is just making this into one spline so we can do this operation at one time instead of doing it multiple times. And then bring both of those in. And this is going to be a union along the Z. Make it editable. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Let's do another one. So there's all kinds of different splines that you can create in here. We can take our rectangle here, and let's take a few circles. So I'm going to add a circle kind of up at the top. Let's control drag this down to the side and down here as well. I'm going to move this off just a bit, and I'll take both of these, make them editable and connect them and delete. Let's take our spline mask and drop the original circle and the rectangle in there, and then we'll make that editable. Another spline mask, drop that in, and then drop those two circles in there. Make something like that, make that editable. Then let's take our sort of diamond shape. Let's cut part out of the top. So we've got this shape. What will we do? We'll take a spline mask, take our overall, drop it underneath, and our diamond shape. And it looks like a recent graduate. But we want to, instead of making a union, we'll go A subtract B, and that'll kind of cut that out. And then we can come in and we can cut out different sections here as well and create interesting shapes. So have a little fun with it. Make maybe 4 or 5 variations just using some of the different splines that you see in here. Don't even worry about drawing out those splines, although you can experiment with that too. But you can just come in and start to use some of these primitive splines. Now in the next lesson, we will look at how we can use a generator to add some thickness to our splines. So once we've got our little guys created, we need to actually make them into geometry. So we'll do that next.